What's up everybody, my name's Big Cam and today we are doing another DC 1/6 scale Hot Toys unboxing, and that would be for Batman Forever's Batman, Val Kilmer's Batman. This is MMS 593 Batman Sonar suit. Oh, I didn't realize this was the Sonar suit. Legal information around the back. Batman Sonar suit on the side with the question mark and the Batman logo on the side, and the Batman Forever with the question mark, you know, the Riddler Batman logo from the movie. Not too much else going on the outside of this box. I did get this figure from my local comic book shop, Comically Speaking, in Reading, Mass. If you guys want to go check them out, tell Big Cam you sent them. They should hook you guys up. They're good guys over there. They do have, you know, comic books and a little bit of Hot Toys upstairs, and they sell wrestling figures and smaller, you know, 1/12 scale figures. And then they have a whole toy store downstairs, right? So they have comics and Hot Toys upstairs, and then, you know, statues and stuff like that. But then they also have, you know, full toy store downstairs with all types of Marvel Legends figures, Funko Pops. So go check them out if you're in the area and you know, are interested in collecting toys, or you got little kids that are interested in that type of stuff. But let's bust open this box for Batman Forever and see what this figure is looking like on the inside there. Of course, big old piece of plastic is blocking our view. I did want to get this, not necessarily because I love Batman Forever. I wanted to get this because I wanted to complete the line of Batmans, right? Because I have a Michael Keaton on the way. I now have Christian Bale, Batman Begins, and then The Dark Knight. And I have Ben Affleck on the way. So other than that, you know, I now would have the Batman Forever Batman and then Robin breakdown for the same Batman Forever Robins coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Oh, I have Pattinson's Batman I just unboxed a couple weeks ago. So the only ones I would be missing would be like the animated, maybe the Arkham series, but like for live action wise, I'd only be missing what, Adam West? Comment below if I'm forgetting anyone's, but like, yeah, I think, you know, just for the collection's sake, I wanted to be able to get the Val Kilmer Batman. But then I rewatched Batman Forever the other day, and you know, Val Kilmer's Batman in the Robin might not be the best from that movie, but I'll tell you what, Jim Carrey Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones friggin' Two-Face absolutely crushing that movie, and his villains are great, you know, and the Joel Schumacher vibe of that universe I actually dig. But you know, he just didn't get to do as much as maybe he would have wanted to. You know, he had the two movies, he had to switch up Batmans in between, you know, and Clooney was the second Batman, so, and you had, you know, oh, that's another one, Batman and Robin. So I have that on the way as well. I just ordered those figures from HotToys.com. So let's stop wasting time. Let's take a look at this Sonar suit from Batman Forever. Alright, just popped off the top of this tray here. It looks like he's got maybe a couple of different hands for him here. He looks like he comes with two fists, but whoever the previous owner was has his like maybe Batarang grabbing hands. Not bad. But it does come with instructions, does come with the figure, it does come with his cape. Let's pull this out carefully. Weird feeling cape. It's almost like a Alcantara, like really old Alcantara like material that you'd get on like your car seats. Very strange indeed. The suit itself feels a little strange too. It does look like the Sonar suit from that movie, which I thought this was just the regular black suit from that movie, so my mistake, I got the Sonar suit, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not too mad. It does depict Batman Forever's Batman. I probably won't get another Batman Forever Batman after this, but this was also the movie that I had all of the, you know, say, toys from when I was a kid. You know, I had the Batmobile that had the light up and giant wing on the back. I had the Robin bike, and you know, there's tons of toys that, you know, these movies were made not necessarily to be good movies. They were made strictly to sell toys, and that's why a lot of people don't like them. But I was a kid when they came out, so I like them. You know, and I still have quite fond memories of them. But it does seem like the cape is very like bulky, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to play around with that a little bit, and it seems like it's maybe sitting a little off anyway, so I'm gonna have to reline that up when I go to take off the cowl and stuff myself, because it does look like there's swap out like Sonar lenses for the cowl, maybe like swap out the eyes on the inside there possibly. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to read the instructions because a lot of these accessories in here, I don't even remember from the movie. You know, like, what is that? That looks like it almost opens up a little bit, but, you know, like it looks like a little, what is that, like a bat skateboard? Like, what am I looking at here? Do I have to go watch Batman Forever again? I just watched it recently, but, you know, it's the type of thing where, like, you watch it recently, and then you go and, like, look at the figures, accessories, and you're like, I don't remember any of these. I should go check this out again and take a closer look. But I say the figure itself looks pretty good. It does, you know, have the look of Batman, although it is the worst Batman of all of the Batmans. Maybe only second to last to, like, George Clooney's Batman. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, so it had a throwing the Batarang hand in, and the guy didn't have it on even strong enough, and it just fell off a second ago. So now I have him just with, like, his double fists, how he's supposed to come out of the box. But it looks like he comes with a base, a crotch grabber, and multiple different hands and accessories here. So why don't we pull all of the accessories that the Batman Forever Sonar suit comes with and lay them out on the desk in front of me here and take a closer look at everything that Val Kilmer's Batman comes with. All right, we have the Batman Forever Sonar suit, Val Kilmer's Batman Sonar suit, that is, standing on top of his display base, kind of similar to the Robin one with just the Batman logo with the question mark around it from Batman Forever, you know, like the Riddler, Joel Schumacher logo, if you would, which this movie kind of implies that it is a continuation of Michael Keaton's, but also is kind of its own thing, you know, and it looks slightly different than the Tim Burton world that he built throughout the first two Batman movies. And they start leaning in really to the toys elements of these movies, and you can really see how through the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, their main thing that they were trying to do was make toys for kids because they saw how well that the Batman merch sold. So that's, you know, they pretty much made the toys and then they made the movie around the toys instead of trying to make a good movie. But I don't know, I watched Batman Forever the other day and I don't think it's the greatest movie, but it definitely isn't that bad, you know, like Jim Carrey, the Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones, Two-Face, like really great stuff. Val Kilmer's Batman, not the best, but he's certainly not the worst. That would still be George Clooney. And his Sonar suit lucks out a little bit because he doesn't have nipples like the original Bat suit does in this movie. Poor Robin, though, doesn't get to escape the Bat nipples in this movie or in Batman and Robin. But we'll take a closer look at Robin's figure tomorrow and in the figure comparison section of this video. But just to look at all of his accessories, you can see he comes with 2 sets of hands on his base plus the fists that the figure comes with. So 3 sets of hands plus 3 more right hands that are meant to hold maybe a Batarang or throw the Batarangs, and he's kind of got more of a stylized chrome Batarang that doesn't even really look like a bat symbol, but looks kind of like something he could throw. And they have like this weird, you know, way for him to hold it between his middle and ring fingers. So you have 2 hands like this where you can hold the full Batarang, or you can hold the folded up Batarang. And yeah, not bad, not the easiest to get in there, but once you do, it's not so bad. He also has his kind of stylized, you know, grappling gun, which isn't necessarily a full gun at all. It kind of just goes on over his gauntlet, and then this little bat symbol pops out, and you can put in this longer version so you can kind of have this, you know, shooting effect of the grappling gun, which I don't know if I'll use because this figure doesn't have the most posability, but I definitely will probably have at least just the little bat symbol because that's kind of cool just to have that little chrome bat symbol on his like gauntlet. He also comes with this piece here that spins and rotates, and some people say it goes around his glove or something, and it looks like it's maybe like a cutter or a blade of some sort that he uses in the film. I was watching it last night trying to look for it, but I didn't necessarily see it unless it's like real quick. He like pulls it out and then it gets like shot out of his hand or something. But, you know, just another little accessory that comes with this Batman Forever figure. Considering Robin comes with virtually no accessories, it's kind of cool that this figure at least comes with something. And many people online weren't, you know, able to figure out what this is. I believe this is his net gun that he holds on to right here. And he's able to shoot off like this underwater net gun, or this is like what he held on to underwater and it like propelled him forward, kind of like, you know, a little propeller underwater thruster thing. But I think it might be his like little net gun, because the only time you see him underwater is he kind of like turns around and like shoots something that looks kind of like this, and a net comes out and like, you know, nets the guys underwater. Not bad, not necessary, but you know, a decent little accessory there. And you can see this little grabber device that snaps onto the back there to be able to pull the eyes in and out of the, you know, head cowl sculpt. But this figure does come with the Sonar eyes, not like a whole different head sculpt. You just pop out the Sonar eyes and you're able to, you know, put these in and use the figure that way. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get these in there, but I'll definitely try. And if I am, you'll see that in the posing section. And if not, it's not the biggest deal, because I probably won't be using these eyeballs anyways in his final posing. But just to take a better look at the hands, you can see the two fists that the figure comes with. And then he's got this relaxed hand where he can kind of just be, you know, in this relaxed standing up and down pose. And then he's kind of got this almost trigger finger hand, but I think this is meant to just kind of go over his belt. Like he's, you know, standing there grabbing his belt in a belt kind of pose. And I wasn't sure why they included this, but you know, this figure doesn't pose too well. So they were like, all right, at least give him some hands that he can pose in his, you know, more museum-esque pose that I'll probably have to rep him in, but just because of the material the suit's made out of. You know, like they do sculpt some little creases into the arms there, but it's very rubbery. We'll take a closer look at that figure in a second. But just to look at the Batman display base there, you can see how it's got like the faux lights up front here and the faux battery compartment down below and like the faux on-off switch in the back right there. You know, so this base used to be one that they had with battery powered and light up effects, but they just kind of kept the same base design but got rid of the light up effects. But the Batman Forever logo on the top there with the green kind of, you know, Riddler green in the logo, it's very reflective, got a metal nameplate up front there, Batman. I believe it does have plastic over it, but that will be real satisfying one day when I decide to peel that off. But the crotch grabber plugs into the back there and kind of has a little extra sturdiness there, but I like that it comes forward a bit so that the figure can actually stand in the middle of the base and not towards the back or towards the front. You know, he should be able to stand pretty easily right in the middle there. And Robin comes with pretty much the same exact base, so you can have kind of matching Batman Forever bases next to each other. But taking a closer look at this figure, starting out down by the boots, not split cut ankles, you know, not much forward back at all or any, you kind of just have like this twist, but you know, one solid plastic boot, a little bend at the knee, not much either. Not much stretch in the legs, you know, so not much you can do with the posability on this figure. But if you do bend the arms, they did already sculpt in some creases there. So like at least if you bend the arm, yes, you're going to have that new crease, but it shouldn't fuck up your figure too much. It might actually. You see that new line there that just came in? That's not from the sculpted creases, you know, so you definitely got to be careful sculpting this figure. People were saying, you know, when you put your arm up, you're going to get that crazy crease there. Or like arm forward, same kind of thing. You get that crease in the shoulder, you know, like, so you're not going to be able to have too much posability with this figure, but I did want to get him either way just so I could complete kind of my Batman run of Hot Toys figures, you know, like I wanted to have all of the 1/6 scale Batman. So now all I need is the Clooney Batman, which is on its way. And I think I just need Adam West Batman. Other than that, Michael Keaton and Batfleck are both on their way. So eventually those figures will get unboxed on the channel as well. So stay tuned for that. But the belt on the front here can move around. You know, if you're like, oh, that weird crease right there, what is that? You know, you just kind of lower the belt down, you know, can't lower it too far, it starts showing again. So you kind of just want it in that happy medium, you know, covering, but that's probably about right there. But there also is that shot in the movie of him checking out his own ass. You know, at the very beginning of the movie, it does like little whip pan shots, like whoopsh, 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 and one of them's his butt, which I just thought was very funny in the film and still to this day find funny. Like, why would you include that? And mostly just for the ladies. But, you know, Nicole Kidman's in that movie as well. So, you know, it is a pretty hot movie. You know, Val Kilmer, Nicole Kidman, I'm pretty here for it, honestly. Still watching it last night. You know, it's not the best of the Batman movies, but it certainly is entertaining. But why don't we toss Val Kilmer's Sonar suit into a couple of different poses and see what posability this figure's got, and see what I can't get him looking like. And then we'll toss him next to Robin from Batman Forever, and maybe next to a couple of other DC figures, and do a couple 1/6 scale comparisons. But let's jump on into that posing section. All right, we have the Bats from Batman Forever with just relaxed hands, standing straight up and down, going around on the turntable, just kind of in a normal neutral pose. And then I have him with these relaxed kind of hands that they say to use to grab the belt, to kind of have this hands on the hips, grabbing belt pose. And then I have him shooting his grappling gadget, which isn't really a grappling gun, but his gadget that's, you know, meant for grappling away. And we have him with his shooting the extended chrome bat hook thing. And I tried to put the Sonar eyes in this head sculpt, but my head sculpt, the attachment where it's supposed to come in isn't quite right, so I wasn't able to get access to the eyes. But I have him kind of leaning back as if he's looking up to where he's shooting the grappling gun. But this poor Batman can't turn his head really at all. And then I have him with his one gadget that he uses like underwater, either to like propel himself away, or I think it's maybe like a net gadget. But either way, using this underwater gadget thing in one of his hands. And then I have his cutter gadget in the other hand is a fist up and ready to fight. And I just thought it was interesting that all of his gadget hands are all for his right hand. So you can't have one gadget in the right and the other in the left. You have to choose which gadget you'd like to use, and that gadget is the only one that you'll be able to use at that time because it's only able to go into the right hand. But I have the final pose here, and he's got his folded Batarang in one hand, his other hand's on his belt, and he's got Robin standing by his side. And I really just wanted to show that these two can stand on their one display base together, or, you know, I'm going to probably have them with the Batman and Robin, you know, their own individual bases, but I'll have these two next to each other in the collection. But down the line, when the collection gets a little too full, this can totally work, and you can, you know, take out the crotch grabber and just have both of the figures standing on one base to take up less space, and it works out just fine. You know, it's a little tight, but they're buddies, they're best old pals, they're partners. So yeah, Batman and Robin could stand on the same base if they wanted to, but also, you know, giving you a side-by-side figure comparison there, where Robin is quite a bit shorter than Batman, but that kind of feels right. You know, he's his boy wonder. He's not Robin Man and Batman, you know, he's supposed to be his sidekick, younger Padawan-esque, you know, trainee, you know. But I love how much color that Robin suit has next to the all-black Batman suit, and it's kind of always been like that, other than, what, the blue Adam West Batman. Batman's probably always going to be a darker character, but that's great. That's why you have Nightwing and Robin, where they can have that little pop of color in there with the blue and Nightwing, or the red and Robin, you know? But I have a few other DC figures I'd like to toss next to this Batman and do a couple of other Batman bat suits comparisons. But I also want to toss him next to his villain from Batman Forever, and that would be Jim Carrey's Riddler. All right, you got Jim Carrey's Riddler now next to this Batman, and he does go through many of costume change in Batman Forever, and he has, like, I want to say at least 5 to 10 different Riddler outfits throughout the movie. One of them being that green spandex legging suit one-piece thing that he has underneath this suit. And then he's got the jacket with the hat, which is like the fortune teller machine thing in his little room, which is just creepy, but also like very proper for Jim Carrey to turn himself into a supervillain. And he's like trying to hijack people's brainwaves and stuff. And, you know, he's actually quite a good villain. I actually quite like the Riddler as a villain, even if it's not played by Jim Carrey. I think Robert Pattinson's Riddler was much more like the Zodiac Killer than, say, Jim Carrey's Riddler. But, you know, if you want the darker Batman from The Batman facing off a serial killer, you can.
Or if you want to go back to the great world of 1995 and watch Val Kilmer's Batman and Robin go up against Jim Carrey Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face, and how campy and comical it is, but how comic booky it feels, and how comic book like the suits feel. You know, like Two-Face looks unbelievable, and I can't wait to get that figure in. But this is Mars Toys Riddler standing next to Hot Toys Batman Forever. And Hot Toys, I don't think ever made the Batman Forever villains, or even like the Batman and Robin villains. I think they're just making Mr. Freeze now, you know, and that figure definitely hasn't come out yet. But once that ships, I will be sure to toss that Dr. Freeze and Mr. Freeze along with Batman and Robin and all the other Batman figures and Batman Forever. But I can't wait to get those figures in as well. And I also have the Mars Toys Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face on its way. So I can't wait to do a side-by-side figure comparison with that Riddler there and the Two-Face, and have two Mars Toys figures next to each other. And then they will probably be near Batman and Robin in the collection. But let's toss this Batman Forever Batman next to another Batman from my collection, and maybe one that's closer to his era of Batman. So I don't have the Michael Keaton Batman yet in stock. That would be before this Batman Begins. And I don't have the Batman and Robin George Clooney Batman that comes directly after this. So the closest thing I got is Christian Bale's first bat suit from Batman Begins. And honestly, this suit is not the best and kind of really trash, but honestly looks and kind of compares to the Val Kilmer Batman Forever suit. It really does. You know, like it's kind of squishy. It's kind of got the big bat logo on the chest. Kind of got similar vibe to it with the big boots, you know, and like the gauntlets and everything. Like the cowl, how it's kind of got the same can't turn the head design with the two little clip tassels on the front for the cape. Even though the Batman Forever one, those aren't actual like things for the cape, they're just kind of fake, where the Batman Begin ones actually slot in, and that's how you plug in the cape. I'm not totally mad at the Batman Begins suit. It is like a good looking suit, but feeling wise, it doesn't feel so great. And same kind of thing with like the Batman Forever suit. Like it looks pretty good, and I like the way that light bounces off of it and that it catches light, and I like the movie, but the actual suit itself is like and the actual movie itself's like but the characters, the colorfulness of it, you know, how fun it is, the actors in it, you know, I mean, even Nicole Kidman's is Val Kilmer's like girl, you know, which is always hot, you know, like his Vicky Vale, if you was Nicole Kidman, and I was here for it. But his villains are some of the best ever to be in the franchise, you know. But, you know, Christian Bale's Batman Begins goes up against Ra's al Ghul, friggin' Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson, you know. So he's not having the worst of villains either. And he's got maybe the best Batman villain with Heath Ledger's Joker. So a Heath Ledger's Joker unboxing will be coming in the future as well, along with Jack Nicholson's Joker. But you've already seen the Edward Nygma, King of Enigma, Mars Toys Riddler, and there's also a Mars Toys Two-Face coming, so there's plenty of more DC Batman villains and Batman unboxings coming our way for more DC figures in the upcoming weekends. But why don't we toss this Batman Forever figure on the shelf and see what his new home's looking like. Good gracious, this shelf is getting packed. Just a few weeks ago, it looked just like this. Just a bunch of white space in the back. Now, I just introduced those clear little elements back there to give this shelf some elevation and boost some of the figures up. So now I have that Joker in the background and King Shark almost touching the ceiling of the shelf. And you can see the Batman Dark Knight trilogy figures are kind of grouped together in that corner. And then I got Batman, the Batman with Dawn of Justice in art, Dawn of Justice figure. This bat signal is not long for the world, so that's why it's on the edge of the shelf, waiting to probably go back into the Batman's box, or, you know, maybe just get tossed down there for a second before we decide what we want to do with that shelf. That will probably end up being some more DC figures, because this shelf is pretty maxed out, but you can also see why I was saying, like, Robin and Batman will probably end up just on one base. But for the moment, I have them front and center because they're my newest additions to the shelf. But I was also thinking that's kind of how I've been doing it. You know, older stuff gets pushed to the back, newer stuff gets put up front. And, you know, I'm getting to the point where maybe I just need to arrange the shelf into, you know, sections of Batman Forever, Dark Knight, James Gunn's DC, you know, the Suicide Squad, old DCEU stuff, new The Batman and new DCU stuff. But for now, I have my Batman in kind of the DCEU things that I have for the moment over here. And this is most of my DC collection. I think I only really have Peacemaker and one other Superman from Hot Toys, Man of Steel. But there will be so many more DC figure unboxings coming our way very soon. So if you don't want to miss those videos, make sure you hit the bell icon and you get the notifications when future Hot Toys unboxing videos come out. Thank you guys so much. If you made it this far in the video, I highly appreciate you. And if you guys want to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already. And if you want to follow my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for coming on by. This has been a Batman Forever unboxing video, and tomorrow's video is of that Robin. So if you guys want to check that out for me, please make sure to like the videos, comment, and subscribe. Share them with a friend, all great ways to help the videos get out into the algorithm. And this has been yet another unboxing video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.